Hey chat, how we doing today? You're just gonna have to give me a moment, I'm still collecting references, so to speak. Because this particular request that I've gotten through Discord, mind you, to be fair, is probably a little bit out of my league, but I'm still gonna give it my best attempt anyway. So, let's grab a couple more of these. I probably want to grab a couple of images from the internet. Alright, so I'm just building the reference sheet now. So, the original image that I got on Discord as the request, let me just pull this up. Oh, try not to get it on screen. So, project suggestions. So, likely autistic ill race. I assume it says Isle race, but this character, I was looking it up on... Like, I was looking it up earlier to find references for this. I'm looking at the wiki for this. Am I correct in reading that this character does not have a head underneath that helmet? Like, am I reading this correctly? Because if so, that is a very interesting pick. So, something that's rather interesting about this particular character. And I'm just having a look through all of the images I can find. Oh wow, like the character is real actually without a head. The hell? I only watched the first episode, to be honest. I mean, fair enough. I'm just looking for a decent side profile, because if I'm not mistaken, I think this is actually a rounded helmet. And not... Like, this is probably about as close as you're going to get to a proper side profile. Because there's images in the manga that has a top-down three-quarter view. Oh wait, here we go. Is this... Okay, this is a character sheet. Can I even put this on the reference, given the image of that first... Actually, I'm pretty sure I can just use the snipping tool for this, I think. Also, don't mind me, I was playing Grow a Garden earlier, and I got absolutely boned when it comes to, like, one of the plants. What happened was I got, like, the really rare chance for the newest plant to show up, and I just did not have enough money, and believe me when I said I was not happy about that. Okay, can I, like... Okay, I can definitely do that, but I just need a way to get rid of the... I hate using Wikia. Like the fandom wiki, I hate using it. And unfortunately, there's no way to actually erase that. Modern helmets would work. The show's like 20 years old and the helmets were asked back then. Yeah, because like I'm looking at the side profile of the helmet. In fact, I'm actually just going to specifically take the side profile for this. So I'll just save that. And I'll put it in the references for now. I know y'all can't see this, and to be fair, given how trigger happy Twitch can be with certain things, I would prefer it to be that way. Okay, so... So I'm just looking at this, and the helmet's kind of fuck-ass, to be honest. You're not wrong about that. Okay, so grab the reference and plonk it in here. Okay, so like this is, I believe, the official character sheet. So yeah, like the bottom of the helmet's actually pretty flattened. So this one might be a little bit closer to the reference than I initially expected. However, the size of the helmet do need to be adjusted because I'm looking at this and it seems to be almost as if the helmet visor doesn't go up whatsoever, which would make sense if the character was indeed headless. However, okay, so here's the thing, right? Likely requested, I believe it was a model, where is it? This helmet but aerodynamic, those ears would catch a lot of wind. Yeah, that is absolutely correct. That would cause a considerable amount of drag. However, there's like a couple of ways that I could theoretically do this. Alright, time to pull out the drawing tablet. Every single time I go to like do a explanation or a drawing of any kind, I just never have the drawing tablet on. Like, that's just a bro moment on my part, honestly. Move QRF out of the way, and I already have Blender open, so doesn't matter too much. Now, there is a couple of ways I could go about designing this specific helmet. And how I go about doing it will determine just basically the entire design of this. So, the first one, and I think is probably the most obvious solution, is that the ears are detachable. So, like, you have your helmet, you have your ears. I believe, Marketplace is selling a helmet similar to this, and you can almost see it on this specific helmet here. How there's a seam that runs around here and back here. So I'm pretty sure these ones specifically are actually magnetic. So if they are magnetic, you should actually just be able to straight up detach the things. And then just attach them back again. So the second option, which was the first one I initially thought of, was changing the shape of the ears. So the way that these are designed currently is that the flat part of the ear is like facing here, and now that would obviously cause a lot of drag. So the most obvious solution in my mind, even though it would completely change the way that the helmet works, if need be, I have a wind tunnel sim to test drag. Why? Honestly, I should just stop asking why you have these things. I should just believe that you do. I've seen far weirder stuff, like you posting, than just a simple wind tunnel. Like, I've seen robotic arms with swords attached. With custom mounted 3D prints too, no less. But yeah, in order to have this mounted to the head consistently and to prevent it from dragging, probably the easiest way would be to take this section here and essentially extrude it out. So the way it looks currently is that it's flat here, and then it runs the trail around the back of the helmet. And the idea is to grab what is essentially the front of it and make a triangle, basically make it into a triangle. So instead of having that, you have the same thing roughly, but the middle part here is extruded outwards. And I think if you were going for preventing drag, might be your best option. Otherwise, the third thing that I thought of, and what was essentially the second idea that I had, was retractable ears. So you have your helmet with the ears on it, but then what they would do is like you'd have a button or something on the side of the helmet or like a remote or something, and then the ears can basically retract into the helmet. Now, this isn't exactly viable for two reasons. First of all, the helmet spacing itself, like the ears is quite large. So they're quite large. So you would need to have significant cutouts in the helmet in order for the ears to retract and extrude out. And the second would be the actual mechanics inside helmet. So not only would you have to have the ears having basically a significant cavity in the helmet, you would also have to have a lot of mechanics in order to be able to move the ears around. And if you were to do that, you would severely compromise the durability of the helmet. That thing would not take any damage. Like, if you fell off a motorbike going, say, 70 miles an hour or something like that, and you fell off with a helmet like this, that thing and your skull would most likely be obliterated. So I think probably the best option might be adjusting the shape. I'm sure Likely will correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that this one here is probably the best option. This one, if you wanted for aesthetics only, but if you wanted to actually use the helmet, this is not a good idea. Just purely for the structural stability of the helmet itself. Like, it would be good as, like, say, a costume piece. But if you were using this as an actual helmet, that would not be a good idea. So I think in order to try and keep the air aesthetic as best as possible, changing the shape so that it basically acts as a split. Like, the way that I think about this is, like, this would be closely resembling, like, the cutting through of, like, say, a plane wing or something. So, instead of having the air just be flat, like, just having the air flat like that, the air would be having a split down the middle here. So, like, adjusting these here so they maybe scoop back slightly might also help with the aerodynamic shape, but some tricks inside the air is currently what I'm currently testing. Yeah, because, like, if you wanted to keep the actual air aesthetic, you're gonna have to adjust the ears if you want to keep it on consistently. Like, if you wanted to have it just for aesthetics and you wanted that specific ear type, or just like having ears in general, you would use detachables for this case. The other option is too, instead of just straight making the diagonal part of the ear, actually, I wonder if it'd be better if it might be better if I model this out, actually. So I'll lock that and I'll hide it as well. And I'll bring back the cube and just give it a quick model. So yeah, I imagine shape would have been the one that you had the idea for. So actually I'll hide the cube for just a moment here. And I'll add in cone. And I believe drop it down to 3. Is, yeah, roughly thereabouts. So, I said 180, have it face the correct direction, preferably. And then edit mode. So grab this. So the ear is shaped like that, right? So the first initial idea that I had was this part here being moved out essentially. So that would provide possibly less drag than the flat surface. And you'd also probably have to move the top of it back slightly just to account for that. But the problem is, like, it probably wouldn't reduce drag that much. However, the other idea that I've just had, and would probably work considerably better, is having this, I believe it's this internal edge, moved backwards, essentially. So you would have this entire edge just moved back. And that would technically keep the shape of the ear, but still let the air pass through. Although, I don't know how far the air can go, still keeping aesthetic, but being effectively less of a drag on the helmet itself. You're certainly giving me quite the challenge here, likely. That's for sure. But I suppose I can explore multiple different options while I'm here. But what I do need to do at the moment is find an appropriate helmet to match the shape of the base. Big brain? Well, I mean, certainly, like, for you, you have the wind tunnel, not me. I'm just here trying to figure out the logistics of getting a helmet with cat ears in the first place. And probably get rid of that tab. And there we go. It's certainly a character design, I'll give it that. So let's bring this up on stream so chat can also see what I'm looking at here. So we've got like a myriad of different helmet designs here. And it's really just boiling down to what would work the best in terms of shape. Like, the question is, do we want the shape to be more lore accurate, or do we want something that's more functional? Because those are two entirely separate cases looking at this character design. Like, I think maybe this is relatively close. Yeah, this is basically more or less what the... Like, barring the visor and the lack of cat ears, I think this is probably a fairly close representation of what the helmet looks like. So what's that? Shock Sniper Scar Red Motorcycle Helmet. I think... What do you think, Likely? I think this is a relatively close comparison. Otherwise, we have something like this too, which could be a close second place contender. Yeah, seems good for a side profile, so you think the first one maybe? I can compare the front profile as well to see how close it is. So I would like to have the profiles be relatively consistent. Okay, I'm just gonna quickly pull this open in another tab. Let's see what the front profile looks like. It's not... It's giving me a 3/4, but not a front. Are you for real right now? This is gonna be the rudest thing ever. Like, good lord. Okay, we got something... I believe this is relatively close, actually. It's not the exact same, though. That's the problem. Although, comparing this image here to this one here, they do seem roughly the same. So this is probably about as good as a front profile as I can get. And quite frankly, I think that's fairly similar. Like, the character's head is tilted down, don't get me wrong, but I'm pretty sure, like, barring this being maybe slightly sharp, which is easy enough to edit, I think this is pretty close. So, looking at the details on this, there seems to be some slots right above the eyes here, which could be translated roughly here. So, it's... what are these for exactly? Like, likely, you know a lot about motorcycles. What are these smallish black pads on... I see them a lot on these motorcycles. Helmets, actually. What are they used for? Are they, like, an aesthetic choice, or are they designed for safety in mind? Vents. Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. The helmets would obviously be pretty hot, huh? So that maybe that's what the ears are for, because I'm looking at this. Like, surely these must be vents, right? Because I'm looking at this as well. Like, you could easily fit they open for the wind to blow the sweat on your head. Yeah. I imagine, like, I mean, these are obviously coming with vents anyway, but there's none on the character, which makes me think that the ears themselves are the vents. Like, provide the character actually needed vents for their head, which is non-existent, of course. So, like, the only two things I can think of is either these here, right above the visor. Cat ears are actually exhaust vents. You don't say. But yeah, like, it's either these would be vents or these would be vents. And quite frankly, these seem a lot more likely. Yeah, I could probably work with this, actually. Regardless, I'm going to save these here just so I can have reference images for these. So the first one I want to save is this one. I'll save it to the references. Yeah, I'll save over that, sure, why not? And then I'll use this one here as a front image. Save image as, and then cool, save those. So, modeling the helmet itself is going to be an interesting situation here. So, grab both of these, and we'll just dump them into Blender. I can use them as reference. I'm probably going to hard surface model this, because I don't think sculpting is going to get me anywhere. At least not this time around. I keep accidentally hitting resources when I want references. So, pop that down. Blender apparently does not want to plonk. Oh, it's because it's in edit mode. I'm dumb. Oopsies. And then, same here, except... for some reason, this doesn't want to... There we go. These are the wrong way around, apparently. What the hell? How did this happen? Oh, wait, it's because the... Okay, so that's correct. So if I control one, yeah. Alright, cool. So we've got that one there. This one here, I want to do the same. ready. Cool. So that should just allow me to... There we go. Now these are the exact same size, but are they the exact same dimensions in general? Like, is the helmet sizing good? Is basically what I'm asking here. Also, like, what would be the actual dimensions of a helmet? I want to try and get this relatively accurate. Motorcycle helmet dimensions. Like, how would I measure the length of the head? Okay, here we go. I found a chart for it. Don't worry, chat. So I imagine this would probably be for, I would assume, a medium. So let's make the size of this relatively decent. So for X, so that's the width of this thing, it is 283.34 millimeters. The Y, which is the back to front, so at its widest, I think that's probably a bit too wide there. So I'm going to say 304.5 for this. And then the height itself from top to bottom, yeah, 120.3 is fine. Okay, that certainly does not make any sense. That's because my dyslexic ass read that wrong. That's 210.3, you dipshit. It still seems like an odd... We'll see. We shall see. This one here, I probably do want to scale this, actually. And then I can just adjust the scaling a bit later. So, looking at this here, I'm going to change the opacity down a bit too. Just make my life slightly easier. And grab that one. So theoretically, this should be the correct sizing, although I am going to scale top and bottom here. And I scale, so that should be fine. And now if I go to the front, I can scale this down. So, of course, like, these are going to be two different models. Drag. Actually, yeah, dragging this one up is the best idea. Okay, so that should be fine. So, the helmet should be the same size on both these sides, which is exactly what I need. Now, I'm going to move these to a new collection. And then make it so I can't accidentally select these and drag them around by accident. full scale X. So they're roughly the correct size. And that should be right for the helmet size. Or at least for the base helmet size. Now, the real fun is about to start. And that fun is trying to remember how to do hard surface modeling. What have you sent me in Blender General? Oh, you sent me... I'm assuming that's your helmet. That's a really cool looking helmet, actually. Yeah, that would be great for whenever I get around to doing the back of the helmet. Because there aren't any real good references for this helmet. Anyway, put them in other projects. And this is technically... Actually, I'll make a new folder and call it requests. And... Alright, cool. Posted what I'm using in Blender General. Yeah, I saw that. Thank you. I jokingly offered to make cat ears for my backpack and she said bet and I went, ah, fuck. Now this is where you assert dominance and use your 3D printer to make your own cat ears. At the very least, you assert dominance. At worst, you have 2 sets of cat ears. So, like, what's the problem? Alright, so... Probably mirroring this would be the best. Okay, here we go. So, definitely want cut there. And cut there. I want to move these by vertice, I think. Be the quickest way to go about doing this. Oh yeah, I should probably set these to be invisible in their own perspectives. So, well, the graphic in perspective. So I shouldn't be able to see. Only axis aligned. So if I go into front view... Okay, it's still being a pest apparently. Okay, go off I guess. Anyway. That's fine, I can just ignore it. Okay, so... grabbing these and moving them up. It's not unlike, modeling a human face, huh? Go off? I'm making what I think would work too. Yeah, I mean, hey. More people who get in on the project, the better, I suppose. Okay, so I just need to keep moving these until they're roughly about where I want them to be. So that's probably fine for the sides. Now for the front. I just need to move these across. Which is not going to be as easy as one would think it is. That's fine. I inherently do not enjoy hard surface modeling because of how weird it is for me to stare at it. Like, my brain doesn't quite compute everything that it needs to do. Okay, I'm gonna need 2 extra cuts on this one. I definitely didn't enjoy doing this part when I was learning Blender courses, that's for sure. And it's not the worst thing on earth, it's just, I find it slightly annoying. Just looking at your reference images here too, likely. So it's rounded at the front, obviously. So I'm probably thinking roughly around here, perhaps? Hmm. Why does that take so much to get it all the way, just to move all the way in? That's weird. And then this one here, we need to be brought forward just a bit. I'm just asked at internal modeling, which my design is going to depend on. Yep. Absolutely feel that on a spiritual level. Hmm. So it's rounded the back, obviously. Like, it's all spherical, and this box modeling just definitely isn't. Also, I can, once I'm finished with the main model, I can just inset it and extrude it inwards, and that would give me a relatively decent start for my internal part of my model, at least. Okay, so this needs to be brought up a bit, I think. Actually, I'm going to give this another cut here too, just to keep the geometry slightly more consistent. So these two here. Oh. I keep accidentally hiding stuff. And it's just purely for the fact my fingers are so fat. That doesn't look cool. It's just getting the geometry to move in the way that I want it. I can probably take this entire set here and each slide that in. And that would give me the roundedness I was looking for. Then the slot here. That's fine. This lower one here definitely needs to be moved. And then the slot here. So I did say that I wanted the helmet to be a bit sharper to stay consistent with the main model. So make sure I don't round it out too much. And then this slot here needs to be pulled back quite a fair amount. Now I do probably need to add a bit more here. Just start modeling out the intricate details of the helmet. And that backwards. Okay, now just gonna. There's really no top view for this. There is actually a back view as well, which I should probably just grab all three of these images just so I have them as reference in general. That one as well. And where's the... I can't find the third image. Oh well, it's saved onto my desktop anyway, so it doesn't matter too much. So, looking at the back of this, it's really rounded in the back. So, grab all these. Trying to get a good roundedness on this is not easy. Also, I'm gonna shade smooth on this. I wonder if it would be worthwhile me using loop tools for that. Loop tools. Oh, I want circle. How would the... Okay. I guess loop tools doesn't want to cooperate, which fair enough, I guess. That one. There. Okay, move that back. Okay, that is a bit more rounded now. I don't know why I was having such trouble with that before. Probably even... don't know if having that lip there is the best idea. Although, to be fair, it does look like Likely's helmet has it too. Which makes sense. This is probably going to take me an entire week to get anyway, so we should be fine. So maybe the 3/4 as well. So it gets like really rounded at the front, but it seems to be relatively consistent all the way throughout. So like that. And then this one here. I'd imagine it would be like this. Okay, that looks okay. Maybe. Just try not to accidentally give the helmet a nose, because I mean, like, what would a helmet need a nose for anyway? Ventilation? I mean, yeah, I suppose. Okay, so that should give me relatively good geometry throughout. I don't know why, but modeling this vaguely reminds me of the Red vs. Blue series. I think it's because I was, a really long time ago, I wanted to do a cosplay as the Meta, or Agent Main for those in the know. And I couldn't for the life of me figure out how I was going to do the rounded helmet. And like, I think originally I was going to use a motorcycle helmet for it and just remove the entire front, try to put a... I think it was like plexiglass on the front. I don't know, past me had some weird ideas. Yep. Yes, here we go. If I Alt S this as well, it's like a seam going through the middle here. I need to prevent it from doing that. Okay, so we've prevented the front from doing it. I think. Yeah, the front's no longer, well, not as much anyway. I would need to essentially smooth it out in sculpt mode for that, I think. That's fine, like, smoothing it out in sculpt mode is not the end of the earth. Okay, I'm actually just going to undo that. Seems to be a lot of weird geometry here that I need to fix. I use... I believe it's relax. Okay, so relax does help. Flatten does not. Go back to curve. Okay, that does something, for sure. Except I've inadvertently give this thing a... I wouldn't even call it a headphone dent at that point. That's a headphone chasm. Okay, maybe moving along the normal will give me... Okay, moving along the normal gives me what I need. Okay, so that should be okay. Yeah, I have no idea how to fix this. Let's try sculpt mode. Smooth. Yeah, okay, it doesn't really want to play ball, unfortunately. Okay, it's a little bit obnoxious, but not the end of the earth. Okay, lifting that up does seem to help a little bit. In fact, I'm going to lift both of these up. The unfortunate thing is I do lose that little ledge there. In fact, maybe I shouldn't be doing that. Okay. Move all these out. Same with that one. And that should be relatively good. Although, it's matching the roundedness a little bit too much for my liking. So maybe I want to sharpen that up just a little bit. That one doesn't need to be moved though. Okay. Alright, I want to try maybe creating a visor for this thing. The only problem is like the geometry at the top is not staying consistent with the shape as I would like. that is, that's not. Actually, you know what might be causing it? It's supposed to be mirror then subdiv. Okay, yeah, that works a lot better. I was wondering why it was doing that weird stuff, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, it might be the modifier stack is out of order. Sometimes it can happen, you know? That's why, generally speaking, you want your mirror to always be at the top. Is to prevent weird issues like that from occurring. Okay, so that's working. So, to do this one, I think maybe an extra loop cut. In fact, I might even bevel this. So bevel there and get these two working. What I'm trying to do is match the visor right here using them. And there looks like I might need another one down there. That's fine. Okay, move that back here. Alright, so that... okay. So this one I just want to move like that. Now this... just want to move this forward here. Roll this forward. And same with these. Okay, now it's... what have I done here? Okay, let's just grab this stuff from the top. And just move them around until they're relatively smooth. Alright, cool. I think the helmet itself, there is a seam at the bottom. Just looking at this here, there is a seam at the bottom. How consistent is that with regular motorcycles? It seems to be... yeah, it seems like most motorcycles have that. And yeah, the character also has it, so there would be a seam at the bottom here. Now, the easiest way I can think of to do this would be to probably add sharp. So from here to around the back here, I should be able to just add a crease. Yeah, okay. So add a crease to that. Now if I grab that same edge and then bevel it, making sure to keep clamp, it does technically work, but it looks hella ugly. Maybe I need to... Okay, I can probably scale this bottom section out here. Mostly along the X. And crease this as well. Okay, so that would give the edge that I need. In fact, can I probably extrude this lot out? It would make the most sense, wouldn't it? To have the extruded part here. It would, but I need to do something about this lot back here. What I can do, while I'm just modeling stuff here, I can actually pull out a second window and just knock off all of these. That way I have active view of everything that's going on here. I used to do this a lot when I was starting out, and to be honest, it's not a bad option, it's just I don't use it as often anymore. Don't know why, actually. It's not exactly like I've outgrown it, it's just like I felt like I didn't need it anymore. Hopefully Likely isn't too disappointed in my progress so far. I was looking at the CAD stuff that they were doing earlier with their suction cup attachment for their vacuum cleaner, I suppose, for want of a better term. Certainly better than anything I could ever make, that's for sure. Yeah, I think I've almost entirely lost the plot on this helmet, to be honest. So I want to map that because the shape that I've got here is not really working out for me. In fact, I'm not even catching how I'm managing to edit this stuff by accident. I just am. character's head is actually just straight. Your head is a lot better than mine, like the tip. Yeah, I just kind of removed that, to be honest. Yeah, but for whatever reason, my shape is not staying consistent. I don't know why that is. Mine looks like an alien. I mean, mine kind of does as well, to be honest. Am I going to... Actually, I can probably pull this slot up now that I'm using actual creases for that section. Okay, so that... Okay, do I need to increase the brightness of that, perhaps? Probably not. Maybe I just need to get good. Okay, so that should hopefully remain relatively consistent. Provided, of course, this thing wants to do what I ask of it. I think I'm getting somewhat... Although, mind you, considering the circus music's playing, I'm probably not getting anywhere as close as I would like to be. Okay, up. I'm gonna maybe move these up a bit. So I do want the... Even though I am going to be using that for the helmet, I do want the geometry to be relatively evenly spaced. Oh, interesting little announcement too. I am basically a quarter of the way to being able to apply for channel points. Yesterday I managed to get barely 3 viewers to watch the stream consistently, so Twitch has actually counted that towards me being able to get affiliate. And once I get 4 days within 30 days, I can actually apply. So, I mean, good job, guys. You managed to get 1 out of 4. The profile looks fine from the side. Probably might want to pull in the front though. W, thanks, Carmen. So yeah, once I get the channel points unlocked, there will be quite a few more things for you guys to do. Of course, if you so desire. I'm pretty sure I've got like... What do I have in terms of stuff here? Do I have obsidian on here? I do. Just gonna quickly BRB this in case this opens on the wrong... Okay, cool. Alright, so I can bring this back. I do have lore-related stuff. I just haven't released it yet, so I don't really want to spoil it too hard. But this is what I've got so far. I've got lore gacha, I've got releasing acting videos, VIP spinning the wheel, voice mod, bird, special streams, and goose. I would just like to point out that bird and goose are 2 entirely separate things. One of them is far more chaotic than the other. Okay, so I'm just going to have a look. Okay, I'm pretty sure these are supposed to be up, and then this one here. Because, like, these are supposed to be consistent, obviously, but... So, looking at it from the side, it seems to be good. I probably want this to be a little bit... Okay. I think that's probably as bad as I'm going to get in terms of a helmet, although I am going to mess about with this just a bit more. So I do want this to be just a smidge smoother. Because helmets, while they are human head shape, they're a little bit rounder than that. Now, looking from the back... No, that's pretty well rounded, actually, I think. Like, I know Likely's is extremely rounded, but... Like, this is an acceptable margin for error for the back of the helmet, I think. In fact, I could probably get away with... this one here being pulled across just a bit more. Is going good? I'd like to think so. So for anyone who's curious what the difference between bird and goose is, bird is a point redeem that will make me immediately stop whatever it is I'm doing and go find a bird to show the stream. It could be basically any type of bird that I find. Goose, on the other hand, is where I have the annoying goose on my desktop for basically the rest of the stream from whatever time somebody redeems it. There will just be an annoying goose on my desktop for the rest of the stream. Because I don't like myself. I'm going to try and get that a little bit better. Okay, so just making sure this is rounded. And then, yeah, I can just inset that later. So that should be fine, I think. Do I want to maybe pull this set out just a smidge more, just around it? I think it probably works. Yeah. Okay. Well, smashing my head into a rock wall does seem to have its benefits, as I thought this was going to take me 2 streams to get the general shape of a motorcycle helmet. I thought it was going to take me longer than it actually did. I could make the joke of being the greatest Blender artist to ever live, but I don't want to invite that sort of smoke on myself, because somebody's, at some point, is definitely going to prove me wrong. Like, even if I say it ironically, that's just begging for disaster. Alright, so that should be good. Now I'm gonna save an incremental here before I decide to do any shenanigans with making a visor. Now, looking at the character here, the visor... Okay, so visors on these things tend to stick out. Some Pixar veteran makes a diss track on you. Yeah, that's probably in fact the kindest result that could have come from that. Like, I'll take the Pixar diss track over some of the other consequences I could possibly face calling myself that. Alright, so it goes to roughly around here, which, yeah, seems about right. So for this one, I'm actually going to Shift D this and separate the selection. So that will give me, yeah, relatively close resemblance of what the helmet visor looks like. And I'm going to give this a solidify. I didn't want to solidify that one, I just want this one. So, helmet. And then solidify. Clip? No, cease. Please. Feck. I am safe for now. So, yeah, the thing is rounded at the bottom. But I'm pretty sure... Yeah, loop tools can carry this one. Now I need to make sure that the thickness is in the correct place. I did apply the scale, right? Yep. So, start with 0.01. Now that's not quite... Although, to be fair, considering I did just do that, the entire geometry could have changed. So I'll move this out. I missed that, yeah. Like, the Pixar diss track would be funny, don't get me wrong, but I could handle that sort of smoke. What I could not handle is somebody who wants a commission getting the wrong idea. Like, to give you an idea of the sort of situation that I could see myself ending up in, I could easily see, like, what is essentially somebody who wants a furry commission, right? Trying to find a way to commission me. You take commissions? No, I do not. I do not take commissions. I take requests. I definitely do not take commissions. There is a huge difference between the two. Okay, so... move all this down. Now, I do want the edges to be relatively sharpened. So if I crease this... Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to do much for solidify. And we'll turn on even thickness. The question is, do I want to... Oh wait, actually, I think maybe the reason for that is because I want solidify to be... Yeah, above subdiv. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Like, I feel like the issue would be somebody trying to commission me for, like, an artwork that they really want and then realizing that I may not be the best fit for the job. Not that this would be the first time something like that has happened. Do I... So I'm still looking at this. Do I want to stay consistent with the anime here, or do I want to try and take some inspiration from these specific helmets here? Because these, I believe, are basically the same. The only real difference is that this one has a different colored design on it, but the same general shape still seems to apply here. It would give it a little bit more flair, because, like, the visor seems a bit flat. It could just be me, though. In fact, I'll probably even move this around. Try and get it into a good spot. Most visors are relatively flat vertically because slight sight warping. Yeah, that tracks actually. So the real question of design choice is basically horizontal, right? But the vertical distance stays relatively the same between models. And it seems to be a lot of the quote-unquote design seems to be more towards where the hinges for the visor, I'd say. So, yeah. So this should actually be starting to curve up here, if that's the case. Okay, I've never played the game, but why does this remind me of that one Elden Ring boss? Anyone who's played the game knows exactly who I'm talking about saying that. I'm actually going to take some liberties with the design. I'm actually going to use the design from the helmets being sold on marketplaces. So I'm going to add a loop cut in here. Now this does have a slight curve downward. That does not narrow it down. Oh, what's the fucking... The one who keeps getting dogged by Let Me Solo Her. What's her name? Malena. This motherfucker. This one. I don't know why, because it's like a completely different helmet design. But for whatever reason, it was the first thing that my brain jumped to. So, bringing this back just a moment. So that would give the helmet design that. Although the entire helmet could do with being a bit further up than that. So it's just making sure that the helmet sticks to the thing correctly. I don't know why, because the offset is on the outside of this. But for whatever reason, it doesn't want to be in the position that I want to be in. Which is pretty consistent for Blender, to be honest. I could scale this out just a bit. Scale this inward. Okay, in terms of, like, the amount that I've done in a singular hour, this is actually not bad. Like, I think probably my fastest method of creating stuff is sculpting, but for somebody who's not at all inclined towards box modeling, I'm thinking I'm doing a halfway decent job. Alrighty. Okay, not bad. It is still a little bit lumpy, but it's not the end of the earth. I can always just mess about with it later if I need to. Anyway, I'm gonna save that and then I'm going to end the stream because I only just realized it was 5 o'clock. Sometimes I get so focused on these projects that I just completely lose track of time. Which is really impressive for me, considering how time-oriented I can be occasionally. Alright, Twitch side. Looks like I am sending you to Alpharad yet again. So, that's easy enough for me. Yeah. Not doing too badly, I don't think. Like, next stream I'll probably start off on the cat ears and see what designs I can add to it to make it more aerodynamic than what it's shown the anime. I'm by no means a physics major. In fact, I almost peed myself looking at the charts that Likely sent in earlier for that suction cup attachment for the vacuum cleaner. So, I'll do my best. Anyway, I shall see y'all in the next stream.